Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Pitafi, and today we are going to talk about foreign policy and one issue particularly, India. Indian elections are finished. We saw Narendra Modi returning to power, belying a lot of expectations. And after that, we are waiting and seeing what exactly is going to become of Pakistan-India relationship. One debate is about internal aspects of India. Of course, it is their matter, but we definitely can talk about it. The second issue is of Kashmir, where BJP had pledged that it is going to abolish Article 370 and also 35A. These are important because if you abolish both these laws, then you can bring about the demographic shift in the population the way Israel has been doing with its Palestinian population. So is that going to happen? Fortunately, so far, they don't have the numerical strength in the Rajya Sabha, the upper house of the parliament, but within 1 year, they are going to get that as well. On the other side, we saw some good gestures, especially from Prime Minister of Pakistan, who first tweeted congratulating Indian Prime Minister and then called him as well. When it comes to the Indian Prime Minister, Prime Minister nominee, Narendra Modi, we saw a kind reply as well. So what exactly is going to happen in all these three aspects? Let us begin by discussing Pakistan-India relationship. Then we can talk about Kashmir issue. And finally, if we have time, we are going to talk about what the hell is going on in India. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by Asif Durrani Sahab, who is a career diplomat, also writes in Express Tribune. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Air Vice Marshal retired Faiz Amir Sahab, Vice Chancellor of Air University, an expert on defense issues. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Dr. Raja Kaisar, foreign affairs expert. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program as well. Durrani Sahab, I have to start with you. How do you see the India-Pakistan relationship now shaping up after victory of Narendra Modi?
Well, it would be a challenge, as it has been a challenge during the past 5 years of Mr. Modi's first government. And irrespective of the governments in India, there is a mindset in India with regard to Pakistan and addressing the core issue. And for us, the core issue is Kashmir.
Right.
So in that respect, we can say that there could be some improvement in atmospherics as the vibes are, but any breakthrough, I don't think it is likely. But I think even breaking ice would be a big advancement, big progress, keeping in view the kind of tensions the two countries have been through.
Right. Before the results actually came, we saw a meeting between Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahab and Sushma Swaraj, the outgoing Indian Minister for External Affairs. Now the question is, when you talk about change in atmospherics, do you mean that there is going to be some kind of easing of tension, or it is merely going to be optics?
I think it can be both.
Okay. Simultaneously?
Yes, because reason is that at Bishkek it was optics.
Okay.
So body chemistry was good and positive. And they also cracked some jokes. But at the same time, whether it's going to break the ice, we have yet to see. We have yet to see that how it turns out to be and how the Indian mood inside the country, because they won the elections on the basis of Hindutva slogan.
Yeah, Pakistan bashing and Muslim bashing.
And majoritism and Pakistan bashing.
Yeah.
So if that was the major planks of their election campaign, so in that respect, how they then retract from those extreme slogans.
Yeah, that's an important point, because you can escalate to whatever level you want, AVM Sahab. But when it comes to de-escalating, it becomes really a challenge. What exactly do you think is going to happen in coming days?
India's relationship with Pakistan should be seen from the perspective of broader Indian foreign policy,
Okay.
because it's just a subset of their broader foreign policy. Besides the burden of the past, if you look at then the major thrust of Indian policy is in the Asia Pacific,
Okay.
where they have a strong relationship with Japan, Korea, Singapore, Australia, and United States. Obviously, to contain Chinese in the South China Sea and in the Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean. So that is the scenario that has around which the Indian foreign policy is being based.
Sure.
Now, when you look at that, then it appears that the relationship between two neighbors is a subset of the Indian relationship with the United States and Indian relationship with China.
Okay.
And if you look at that further about 2 years back, then India was declared major defense ally with the US in 2016,
Yeah.
primarily because of their presence in Asia Pacific.
Right.
Now, since Asia Pacific is about China, so if you look at the next 5 years, the Indian foreign policy, then obviously Belt and Road Initiative is going to take off,
Okay.
is to gain momentum.
Right.
And this part, CPEC being the flagship of that, it
Right.
is also going to pick momentum.
Okay.
So when you see the India-China relationship in the context of BRI and in the context of CPEC,
Right.
then obviously they are going to be more stressful, the more strained relationship.
There's going to be more strain.
More strain.
Amazingly, every time I talk to you and other, very qualified dignitaries who participate in the program, I'm told that China and India is presenting itself as a counterweight to China. That is at least America's wish. But I don't understand the moment Modi wins, and especially it is his foreign policy that we are talking about. China also celebrates. I saw very welcoming and heartwarming kind of statements coming from Chinese leadership.
We should not forget the incident in Doklam in Bhutan that happened about let's say a year and a half back.
Yeah.
So that is so there's an oscillation between the two relationships between India and China, whereas China does see would like to have India partner in BRI, but India, because of its own compulsions of Asia Pacific and Kashmir, would not like to be part of the BRI. So when they're not part of BRI, then probably the relationship will remain heat off and heat on.
Okay.
That kind of relationship,
So-
and that kind of relationship would also impact the Pakistan-Indian relationship.
Pakistan was
Indian
sitting
relationship.
right in the middle
And-
of two.
And to add to that is the Kashmir issue. So
And
I don't think that with the Modi's second coronation, there's going to be any major difference. You may have a slight period of stability, but I think their hostility towards Pakistan will continue.
Right. It will be tense peace at
Yeah.
best. Let me bring in Dr. Raja Kaisar. Your take on Narendra Modi's second term and relationship with Pakistan.
Well, Farooq, thank you in the first place. It was quite expected when, because the way Indian opposition had contested in India, it was almost giving a headway to BJP. So
Always blame the underdog, right?
Yeah,
The
and-
one who has been vanquished always
But yeah,
criticize
but
them.
at the same time,
not seeing that the society might be changing.
yes, it more appeared that Rahul Gandhi was contesting for 2024 in the hindsight, because the kind of
Okay, regardless of that, now he's there.
No, now Modi is there, and it was expected. And Modi, one thing when it comes to Pakistan, which I censor, which being a reader of Indian foreign policy, which I can say, is that in the first place, you were talking about the Sushma Swaraj meeting with Shah Mahmood Qureshi. So there are going to be some very insubstantial and some very, say, petty gestures from Indian side, because every time they
Petty
want,
gestures?
yeah.
The first gesture came from Pakistan that
But
Sushma
you see-
Swaraj
see-
flew over Pakistan's airspace.
Yeah, but see what is going to happen. This is what India always does. They are going to say that we have repeatedly given Pakistan an opportunity to talk to us, but it is Pakistan which is not serious.
We are giving Pakistan an opportunity to talk to us.
Yes. This
I
is,
mean,
this
I
is, this
hope
is
they're not
rhetoric.
going to use that kind of language.
No, but that is going
I
to
mean,
be the sense.
coordination, giving an opportunity to talk to
No,
us.
but this is what they mean, because they don't feel incentivized to talk to Pakistan. And last five years of Modi in power has actually corroborated this fact that they are not interested in talking to Pakistan.
Okay.
And how would they get incentivized to talk to Pakistan, or why would they talk to Pakistan? I mean, Pakistan under Imran Khan has repeatedly extended several overtures, which could have been taken up by India, but again, the electoral impulse was there. And BJP was, soaring on the wings of lofty sentiments, perhaps. So, and it didn't reciprocate. But now BJP is back into power. Now Narendra Modi is a stronger PM than he was previously,
Okay.
because he has had a thumping mandate, and at the same time he has almost vanquished over the opposition in India. And what I fear that for what happened to India in its first 3 decades of independence, when India didn't have any noticeable or substantial opposition,
Yeah.
that's going to be the case perhaps for
So we are
next
going
at
to
least
talk
a
about
few
internal
years.
dynamics of India as well. But first, I wanted to actually understand what exactly is going to happen in that relationship. And Ambassador Saab, my concern is that before elections, we saw statements, one coming from our Prime Minister, then other statements attributed to other powerful, influential people, that if a strong PM is there in India, chances of getting a deal on border, fixing the border, will be easy. Now, do you think that was a misperception, or do you
I
think
think
that it can
he
happen?
was referring to the experience with the BJP leadership in the past.
Yeah.
And perhaps it would be too ambitious, you can say, expectation of Modi that he may deliver like what Mr. Vajpayee might have.
Okay.
This is my reading. And it depends. Mr. Modi comes from a trading state of Gujarat.
Gujarat. Yeah.
So he also at times behaved like Donald Trump. So his trader's mind is there perhaps.
Okay.
And he would like to trade in that manner. But India cannot give us an opportunity.
In Donald Trump manner,
Yeah.
that means transactional relationship.
No, not really. They would want that what is what we can gain.
Okay.
This is, but if that is the case, then I think we already have some substantive work done 10 years ago during President Musharraf's time. So, and then I think our political forces have been on the same page
Okay.
with regard to the 4-point program, which was nearly agreed to.
Yeah.
This is what we have not seen the in black and white, but this is what is largely talked about in Pakistan and India.
Yeah.
But whether Modi has got that courage is yet to be seen.
Or imagination for that matter.
Well, yes, you can, yes, I would say, yes, we can say it mildly, yes. So, but at the same time, as I said earlier, the mindset in India at the moment is, it is riding high on the Hindutva wave. And this is a very dangerous precedent they have set in for the election campaign. This has set a very bad precedent inside India,
Okay.
where Muslims are at the receiving end. And every day, in fact, in many a times, you find many video clips.
Yeah, day before yesterday, a man was beaten and forced to beat his wife
Yes.
in Madhya Pradesh.
Yeah, so they are now actually bringing humiliation to the Muslims.
Okay.
This would have
And
an
Christians also, right?
every minorities,
Yeah,
but Muslims are at the receiving end at the moment.
Yeah.
So what should be the source of concern for all of us is that how India is behaving.
Okay.
This how India, as if Mr. Modi is victorious in this election, should he still be carrying the baggage of that election campaign,
Okay.
those rhetorics,
Yeah.
or should he be now looking at the saner part of the relationship
Right.
within the country, and with the neighbors.
Yeah,
Especially
he
Pakistan.
talks a great deal. This time, his speech in the parliament was quite interesting because it was promising internally, but somehow it is lost in translation. Now, the question, sir, is that a government that risks actually a nuclear war just to win an election and strikes down, shoots down a satellite just to win an election. That kind of a government has been empowered and is now going to rule the country. So, no let up in relationship. Why then the many people in Pakistan were of the view that relationship might improve under Modi 2.0?
Well, Modi definitely won because of his realization that his economic policies of the last 5 years did not bring the fruit to the Indian people what he promised in his previous campaign. The economy didn't improve that much. The unemployment rate remained high. So those were the realizations, and that if you look at the election predictions in January 2019, they were probably Modi will win with slight majority, or probably Modi might be replaced with Amit Shah or somebody else.
Not Amit Shah. Amit Shah is going to be finance minister now.
Yeah.
But
So there were rumors of him being replaced, RSS
by Gadkari, Nitin Gadkari.
probably.
Yeah, railway
So
minister.
so when you look at his acumen, the political acumen, he again went back to his previous campaign slogans. That was the militant nationalism. And that is why you saw the military escalation between February and April till the time that the elections were, he was on his election campaign. And in that election campaign, you also saw the anti-satellite missile launch. So he actually went back to arouse that militant euphoria in his own people. And that is what contributed.
Appealing to the baser
Appealing-
instincts.
Yeah. So when you see that, he now having won with a thumping majority, probably after many decades, a sitting prime minister has returned with a majority back in the parliament. But there are constraints on India and on the Modi's powers as far as his foreign policy is concerned.
How?
And some of these are, you look at the recent brawls or the recent demands by the US about the Indian trade surplus, and they're going to ask them to open the market more so that the trade surplus is reduced. And
No,
the jobs.
I get that, sir. And that is the subtext of the election. It is not economics stupid. It is not economy stupid, right? With due respect, the question that I was asking was there were people in Pakistan.
I'm coming to that.
Very
saying-
empowered people who thought that that is going to actually bring some fruits to us.
No. See, let's look. Let's
Is
look
there
at,
a possibility it
Let's
might
look
happen?
at in which environment the Mr. Modi will operate in the next couple of years. Let's leave alone the next 5 years.
Yeah.
The next is his fallback from Iran. His inability to purchase any more oil from Iran. So that has also limited his influence in the region. The next is his Afghan policy, where again the Indians feel constrained because of the Pakistan's participation in the Afghan, or the lead position in Afghan negotiations. Then there's another irritant in between the US and the Indian foreign policy, and that is the purchase of arms S-400 from Russia. So these all are constraints on the Indian foreign policy. And
Yeah.
Pakistan probably, what you asked was, Pakistan could just wish that probably Mr. Modi, when he's back in power, probably he will stabilize and he will now look at 5 years ahead. And his economic progress would depend on peace in subcontinent. And that's why Pakistan was the first one, probably one of the first countries that approached him and wished him well
Yeah.
in his next 5
Pakistan
years.
was the first country to congratulate him.
So that's just
No,
a good
but
wishful
wishes
thinking.
and policies,
Yeah.
wishes and policies
So
don't
those are
go
just
together.
wishful thinkings, because there are many areas where our interests do not coincide. Afghanistan being one.
Why not?
BRI.
We can work together. I mean, we can work everywhere together if we want to.
Well, if we want to, yes.
Yeah, this
But there are-
straitjacket of Cold War is somehow constraining everybody, right? That is the
So
big problem.
That's I said that when you look at the Pak-India relationship, you'll have to look at the broader foreign policy of India, and that's the straitjacket that you will have to operate in.
Yeah, that Chanakya mindset is there, and it is really actually affecting the region. But again, there is a reason, Dr. Kasa, why I'm asking this question. That those leaders who were thinking that it is going to actually improve ties and there might be lasting peace between the two countries, I'm hoping, and this is my wishful thinking, that they see something more than I do or you do. There might be some back channel. There might be some kind of communication that tomorrow when Modi comes back, there might be reconstruction of relationship on durable pattern.
Well, Farooq, in the first place, hope is not a policy, optimism is not a course of action. You can be hopeful,
But
you
hope
can
is
be
a question.
optimistic. You can be hopeful, you can be optimistic, but that's not a course of foreign policy action.
True.
You cannot actually convince India to act accordingly, or actually you can't persuade them, in fact, to fall in line and just to start negotiating with you and start peace process, which is long halted. But at the same time, the people are the protagonist of this idea that BJP might open up avenues for some meaningful dialogue. It comes with a reason. It comes with a reason because Congress, as in the Indian political landscape, now it does not enjoy that leeway and that robust presence that it used to have 20 years ago. And had Congress come back into power, it might not have been a very forceful government because it might have been very much crippled with the coalitions. One thing.
So?
Secondly, BJP's offensive, and the hawkish display or the manifestation of politics, the way they make it tough for the other governments. Like for instance, it's been 3 years before I happened to have interviewed Mr. Salman Khurshid, who was the external minister of India, and that was for my doctoral dissertation. So in which he confessed that
I hope you realize that Salman Khurshid is under attack these days as well.
yes, and
By the Hindutva goons.
Yes, and he said, he confessed this thing in that interview, that the Congress is under the pressure of BJP while formulating anything vis-a-vis Pakistan. So that is the kind of pressure.
That is because they chose to actually take pressure. Otherwise, if you are in government,
But domestic sources of foreign policy are very, very impactful when it comes to India.
you're talking about RSS, or are you talking about their establishment?
No, I'm talking about at large, their domestic contextualism at large. So it impacts and impinges their foreign policy choices. That's for sure. And you can see why BJP and Modi, they were hell-bent and they were conflagrating the sentiments of the people using a national security rhetoric in these entire elections.
Yeah.
Just because that it gets consumed in India and it works for them.
Right.
So the optimists, they are of the opinion that since BJP, it is already a hardliner party and it has a very established position in the statecraft and it has a very clear manifestation of policy towards Pakistan. And then there is another thing which cognitively makes BJP comfortable with Pakistan, that in fact BJP and this Hindutva policy legitimizes the very notion of two-nation ideology.
They have actually.
They have actually proven it
yeah.
in 2 days before that, and then again it legitimizes their existence and it legitimizes the two-nation ideology as well. So keeping in view
I
all
don't
of
know
these
whether
things,
we should thank them or cry for our Indian brethren who keep on suffering. But that is a big point. I hope it is not a thesis. Let us hope in coming days, once he takes over the government,
one thing
he
will be very
establishes
important.
some kind
One
of
thing
back channel.
will be very important, which will give a prelude to what he is up for, will be the choice of his cabinet.
Okay,
Because Sushma Swaraj is
She's
more
not going to be,
yeah.
she's not part of the parliament any longer.
Yeah.
Very quickly, before I go to Ambassador Saab, Ajit Doval, is he going to continue as the NSA?
This is yet to be decided, and this will again, as I said, that will corroborate what Modi is up for.
It is the nub of the gist of the problem, right?
Yes.
If probably he wants to change, he probably would change Ajit Doval. if
No, but,
there's a perceptible change in their policy.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Doval would have to go.
Don't count on it. I can tell you, don't count on it. Ambassador Saab, now let us talk about Kashmir. Article 370, 35A, and we have heard many theories how BJP has pushed forward, the election in the state, waiting for the time when they will be able to, strong arm it to elect whatever government they want, and then they want to abolish Article 370, 35A. Do you think it is going to happen?
Well, difficult for the time being, as you yourself have pointed out.
Rajya Sabha?
The number game is not in favor of BJP. But at the same time, there was a big slap to the BJP. It lost all the seats in the valley. So what kind of policy they or constitutional amendment they want to bring in Article 370 or 35A? Motive is quite clear. They want to allow the other Indian nationals to buy property.
Right.
So it means it's quite obvious that they are least pushed about the plight of the Kashmiris. They want the real estate.
Okay.
And that is not going to favor India. It should not. And I think the Kashmiris, they are going to resist it. They have resisted about their right of self-determination.
Their children have been blinded, they have been maimed, they have been
Yes.
killed,
Yes.
and the world is sleeping. So why would it fake up?
Well,
now?
it happens, but that's how the nations, they struggle.
Okay.
And the world is replete with these kind of sacrifices.
Yeah, but there is a finite number of Kashmiris, right?
Well,
If they all keep on dying,
well, then I think then that that's that would be a dreaded scenario. Then that won't also go into the favor of India.
right?
So I think India should also realize that the patience has its limits, and
The world's patience.
anywhere in the neighborhood and within the country and being occupiers, they cannot, because if you look at the last year's UN Human Rights Commission's report, which clearly indicts India for its gross human rights violations and calls upon India to allow inspection, a probing mission to India to visit, which they have rejected, of course.
They always do.
But occupiers do that.
Yeah.
This is what, if that was the case, then India should not have got independence.
Right.
And then if that's the case, the Soviet Union should not have broken down into 15 countries.
No,
They
that
were the
is true.
superpower.
No, that is true. But BJP never supported independence of India. RSS never did. So
No,
remember that
The
aspect.
issue is none of the Indian major parties, including Congress, supported that.
Right.
But that was the fait accompli for them. They had to.
Okay.
So because we are talking about politics, we are not talking about poetry. So here in politics, everything is possible. So Indians, I think if the BJP, which had just one seat way back in 80s, if it can get overwhelming majority now, so that is a change in the Indian polity.
Right.
So if India continues to occupy Kashmir for 70 years, it doesn't mean that it will occupy another 70 years.
Yeah.
Things can change.
Yeah,
Dynamics change.
That's quite interesting takes. AVM Sahab, I have to come to you. The idea is that somehow when they actually abolish Article 370, they will be able to unbundle the three regions and separate them. And then, of course, the issue is especially about the valley, so they will be able to crush or depopulate it or repopulate it. The Article 35A actually forbids people from owning property in the state from outside, right? That goes away, then they can bring in settlers, especially they are talking about ex-military officials that can be settled there. Do you think that there is going to be such a plan, especially because we don't know what kind of world order we are in? It seems that there are no breaks when it comes to the exercise of power by the powerful.
Well, to crush or to suppress the freedom movement in Kashmir, India doesn't need to undo 370 and 35A. They're still doing it in the presence of those things. So probably that would only be a signal to Pakistan and to world hardening of Indian stance that it is no more a special area as part of India. So that probably would only be making it very clear that India would not compromise on the or people should not think of any solution other than what the present solution is. So, but if you look at the BJP's manifesto for this election, Kashmir or 370 and 35A had a prominent place in that manifesto.
Yeah.
But the first speech by Mr. Narendra Modi after his victory, where he talked of inclusiveness, I think I'm not going to see the abrogation of 370 or 35A in near future. As I mean, you gave a limit of 1 year, but I think this will happen only when Modi gets in trouble once again.
No,
so as long as it doesn't
the
get
number changes in Rajya Sabha in one year.
So that is
So that is the time when they can do
Yeah.
it if they want to.
But they will do it only, Modi will go ahead only when he is in political trouble in India, and he sees, you can't foresee
How?
what happens.
He has all the numbers.
He has the numbers there, but if the economy doesn't pick up very well in the next 2-3 years, then probably
There is no opposition. Institutions just, melted away. Media is totally craven, in control of their party. And then you talk about any opposition within the party, there is none. So he is all-powerful man right now.
Politics has a strange way of changing. So I'm just saying that.
So I
if
keep hearing. Ambassador Saab also mentioned this.
So what I'm saying is that it doesn't go in a straight line. It's not a linear progression when you talk of the
No, but
political.
I do believe in
Yeah.
Murphy's law.
Yeah.
Whatever can go wrong will go wrong.
So what I'm saying is that probably Modi will not go ahead with abrogation as long as the things are running smooth, because Kashmir is in their hold and they don't need to abrogate 370 and 35A. So I think this will happen only when Modi feels that he needs some more political power, and he doesn't have to be in problem, but that would be that he wants to do something drastic with the existing democratic system in India. Probably he would look for a greater support from Indian people. So because as you just mentioned,
he got the greater support already.
as you have mentioned, at the moment even the democracy in India is challenged.
Yeah.
Because of the
Institutions?
in his previous 5 years, he was not so much mindful of his institutions. Next 5 years probably he won't be any better than last 5 years. So the thing is that now probably when he has won such a majority in his 10 years, he's going to see how can he make sure that the BJP remains in power indefinitely after 5 years. So that would, if that is the thinking that prevails in the Indian leadership mind, then probably you would see the use of Kashmir as a tool, as a measure to garner more support from the Indian people.
Yeah, but the humble submission, the question is, when you have every power, all the power within your control to do something that you have promised, and the institutions have totally disappeared, including their army, which actually withheld a report about the crash of helicopter till the time elections results were announced. I mean, that is the situation. In that situation, who's going to stop Narendra Modi from doing this?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Farooq, you see, it's not an easy ride for BJP. For that matter, if they want to repeal Article 370 and 35A, they need to have 2/3 majority in the Jammu and Kashmir State Constituent Assembly.
So elections haven't taken place. They will be stage managed.
No, they tried their best in 2014, but they could not.
Yeah,
But
things
and
change.
then if you see that the kind of the voter turnout which BJP had and the kind of voter turnout which had been observed in these elections.
8%, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's appalling. So
So they don't care.
yeah, they don't care. But the fact of the matter is that I have my own interpretation of this thing, and you have every right to disagree to it. That even BJP does not want to change it. They just want to hold it as a kind of, something as an intimidating tactic through which they should keep on hammering Kashmiri people. They are going to do it
Intimidation against whom?
against Kashmiris.
Okay. Why?
And against, and through this they signal Pakistan as well.
Okay.
So this is our policy towards Kashmir. So because they haven't pursued it genuinely, because like he has very rightly pointed out, when they want to do anything, they do it at the behest of any unconstitutional pretext.
Yeah.
They have dismissed the government. The government is defunct for last 2 years.
Yeah.
There is a governor rule over there, and now even governor rule
rule,
is
actually.
yes, now governor rule is even dismissed. There is presidential rule. There are the Armed Forces Special Power Act. There is Prevention of Terrorism Act. They can, if they want to do it, if they want to do settlements.
Raja Kaisar Saab, you see the point that there was an overwhelming verdict in support of this kind of aggressive rhetoric on Kashmir throughout India.
Yes.
So Modi is not going to fight next election from Kashmir. He's going to fight the election from where he does, right? So what happens now? Banaras. He is going to, why would he not fulfill his promises?
Well, they have promised to build a Ram temple as well, and it's there for last 3 decades. They have repeatedly come into power.
Okay. Now,
So-
even Muslims say, please build it and get over with it.
Get
right?
over with it.
They
So,
don't.
Yeah, the point is that Indians, they need certain kind of grand narratives, kind of grand rhetorics,
Triggers?
which triggers, through which they can insinuate an upheaval within their polity, and which they can actually cultivate and they can reap off when deemed necessary. So all of these things, they are symptomatic of the fact that BJP and Hindutva, which was essentially considered to be a saffron tide, is now deeply entrenched into their polity.
Right.
Hindutva is now a social and political reality in India, and we have to understand it as a reality
Right.
now.
Ambassador Saab, can you help me grasp this reality? Why Narendra Modi will not seek to implement these promises?
I think when you have issues and you can play with that, and if those issues get you the benefit in winning elections, so rather keep it as a hen which lays golden eggs.
Okay.
If you don't have issues, then what they are going to do? What will be the issue in the next elections?
Pakistan?
Well, Pakistan is there because of Kashmir.
Yeah, but if you are absorbing Kashmir within your state, occupying or totally engulfing it, then
I think we are.
the antipathy is not
I
going
think
to go.
we are hypothesizing.
No, sir, I am just quoting their own
Fine.
manifesto.
Fine, they have the manifesto. How much manifesto they implemented in the last elections,
In economics, none.
right? So there's more unemployment.
Yeah.
The economic indicators are down, almost 50% down.
Okay.
So and then even then this time the election plank was anti-Pakistan, majoritism, Hindutva, and based on that they appealed to the majority Hindus, and that has happened in the cow belt or Hindi belt, which
By the
they
way,
call.
Muslim number also increased from 9% to 14%.
Yes,
have voted for
and there are 7 more MPs in their assembly.
No,
in
I'm
Lok
talking
Sabha.
about vote share coming from Muslim communities.
Well, that's in UP, yes, they got it. Because UP is almost, they have 35% votes.
Right.
They did. And that's natural, that is possible. And it's not that the BJP itself is a political party, but it's a militant wing, which is RSS or Bajrang Dal. They guide the party towards militancy.
Right.
But when you talk about politics, when you look at the BJP's manifesto, it claims secular. It doesn't say we talk about Hindutva.
Okay.
But when it is the Bajrang Dal and
VHP
RSS,
and RSS.
VHP, so that is different. Of course, so they have got different rabbits in their hats, and they take out
Hundreds
whenever.
of them, actually.
Yes. So in that respect, Kashmir, India should know, and India knows it.
Okay.
We became nuclear because of all these issues.
Okay.
So we responded to India after Pulwama, after Balakot, immediately.
Right.
So I think India would not be so naive not to understand our sensibilities and our red lines.
Okay.
So Kashmir is our red line.
I'm convinced, thoda convinced, right?
Yes.
But one question, sir, before I go to other participants, and of course we have to start concluding the program. Is it time to give up on India?
Why?
Because I don't see any hope
No, I don't think.
of course correction.
Listen, my training is as a diplomat, I'll never lose hope. I have to be patient,
Yeah.
but I have to persevere.
Okay.
So this is my message.
Okay, this is your message. Right, AVM Saab, you're a fighter. So should we give up hope on India?
No, definitely not. You keep your enemy closer to your heart
Okay.
than your friends.
No, I'm not talking about that at all.
So you
as
don't
a
give up.
democracy that could be emulated, as a country that had too much
Actually,
diversity.
what you're going to see is that the militant nationalism is not sustainable over long periods.
Okay.
So what they have done in the elections, it was sustainable till that. Beyond this, India will have to look inwards and look at the economy and probably come up with the solutions what they had promised in their previous campaign and in this campaign. So you're going to see a different Modi emerging in next couple of months. Pakistan need not to give up on that, because Pakistan, obviously they're neighbors and they're big neighbors, and we have a common heritage also. So Pakistan probably should continue to strive for peace with India, gesture by gesture. Even previously, even in Pulwama and Balakot, Pakistan was not on the aggressive. So I think Pakistan will have to continue to put forward its peaceful face, because as they say, Naya Pakistan. So you have to have a new perception also in the world. So because now look at
No,
your
Naya Pakistan is okay.
No,
But
what I'm saying
if
is-
Naya Hindustan
Well,
comes and it
yeah.
is Hindu Rashtra, will you be able to communicate to them?
Well-
Because do you know, I have recently quoted RSS in detail, their founding fathers, and they kept on saying that we have, if you want a Hindu Rashtra, then you will have to make sure that minorities remain without rights or they merge into Hinduism. And then they are talking not only about the country that is under India's control right now, including Pakistan and Bangladesh
Yes.
as well.
Modi did not restrain his far right in the last 5 years, and he is not going to restrain them in the next 5 years also, because that is what his own beliefs are. That is where his own beliefs are, that it is a Hindu nation primarily. He is not so much given to the idea of secularism in a secularist India, though he would probably continue to preach that. So what he does with his own minorities that he's been doing for the last 5 years, I'm not sure that Pakistan should make that as a base of our relationship with India.
Yeah.
We should continue to strive for a better relationship,
Right.
because we have to move forward. And one more thing, the most dangerous thing would be that India is going to build up militarily in the next 5 years.
It will.
And because of its economy and its
It will.
is expanding GDP, so that is going to remain a concern for Pakistan. So
And
I
it is
think
going to use water as a weapon as
what
well.
are the weapons? So, but that is where diplomacy will come in. That is where Pakistan.
Whose diplomacy, sir?
Pakistan, yes, obviously, they hold the power in the region. They hold the water. They hold the size of the military. They hold the bigger economy. So the odds are presently looking favorable to them, considering our present economic situation. So Pakistan will have to rely more on its friends in the region and
Right.
beyond the region.
Right. Pakistan will have to actually rely on them. That is an important point. But the other side, India, when you try to use diplomacy, doesn't want to listen. They refuse to talk to you. And every time there is a possibility of some kind of interaction between leaders, something weird happens and they start, their deadlines are increasing every day. So I'm going to flip Raja Kaisar the question, and I'm not going to ask you, is it time to give up hope on India? I'll ask you, will you allow me to give up hope on India?
Well, there are two things. One, that there are no out-of-the-box solutions in foreign policy. I mean, it is a status quo construct. It usually adheres to the basic niceties and the intricacies which are already established. And given a fact, if you will change your strategy unilaterally, it might not convince your adversary to reciprocate in the same manner. So if you are going to give up on India, Indians are not ready to give up on you. So it is a kind of
policy.
it is a kind of a perpetual
Because it might be
and a
part of
never ending matrix.
it might be part of aging, but somehow I feel that I'm getting more realist.
Yeah, but
and I see India going to the.
But there is a one very significant point what you are making. Perhaps this is the high time where we should all give up on one-sided persuasions. I mean, you need not to be very desperate that we should talk to India, because Indians, they are actually playing on that sentiment. They believe that actually Pakistan is so exasperated and it is so desperate that it wants to talk to India, and Indians, they actually boast their ego through this thing. That
Raja Kaisar Sahab, I'm told that we have done short of time, but you made your point. Although it was the last point you made, but it was very close to my heart as well. Thank you very much, Raja Kaisar. Thank you very much for being here. Air Vice Marshal retired Faiz Zamir Sahab, always a great pleasure having you on the show. Same goes for you, Asif Durrani Sahab. Thank you very much for being part of the program as well. Because there is a reason why I'm saying that perhaps it is time to give up hope. Because we have been comparing, at least I've been comparing what is going on in Israel, Netanyahu's Israel, and what is going on in India for quite some time. And interestingly, the reason why Netanyahu has not been able to form government so far is that Israeli expatriates are very conscientious. But when you look at the Indian expatriates, they keep on progressing at the cost of their own countrymen or ex-countrymen, because they don't care how unsecular their country is. And they have to just grow. They will remain secular and they will keep on growing. So there doesn't seem to be any correction mechanism short of an economic turmoil that will, of course, affect the entire region. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.